Today we're covering 8th grade, Chapter 10, Lesson 4, Financial Responsibility. Let's review some of the words we've learned. Plan for spending is called a budget. Another word for spending is expenses. And expenses that change monthly, variable expenses, and payment received for goods or services. Income. Example 1. What percent is set aside for college savings? Well, to find that, we will need a total over how much she set aside for the college savings. So you'll need to add all those up, and you'll find $800 is her monthly budget for her total. Remember, part over total. And they both end in 2 zeros, so we can cancel that. That's like dividing by 100. And that leaves us with 2/8, which could be simplified to 1/4. And 1/4 as a decimal is 0.25, which is 25%. And 25% towards savings is very good. They usually recommend somewhere between 10 to 20% be put aside for savings. So 25% is a very good amount to budget for savings. Example 2 says, if the budget from example 1 needed to be reduced, which expenses most likely would be easier to adjust? Remember, those would be the variable expenses, the ones that change. And her variable expenses might be food or clothing, and that other category, miscellaneous type expenses. Also, she could adjust her cell phone bill by canceling it if she really needed to. That's not a necessity. I know you think it is, but it's not. And the last thing she would want to change would be the college savings. But yes, that can also be adjusted if she needed to make some cutbacks. Example 3. What percent of the budget from example 1 is fixed expenses? So her fixed expenses would be the college savings, because she has set an amount, the car payment, the cell phone bill, and the rest of those might change. She might spend a little bit more on clothes or a little less, and she might spend a little more or less on food. And again, don't know what the other is, but that's the miscellaneous expenses, and that might change. So 200 plus 275 plus 125 equals 600 on fixed expenses out of the total, which was 800. Remember, they both end in zeros, so we can cancel that. And then 6/8 would simplify to 3/4, which is 0.75 is a decimal, or 75%. Now let's get to that financial responsibility. Example 4. Mr. Stevens has $7,500 saved towards building a deck around his swimming pool, which costs $17,000. He is going to use the $7,500 saved as a down payment on a loan, with an interest rate of 3.75% for a term of 2 years. Decide if the decision made is financially responsible or financially irresponsible. Identify the benefit or cost of the decision. So, Mr. Stevens is going to take the money that he's been saving, and he's going to use it for a down payment on that. That means he won't have to take out the full $17,000 as a loan. He'll take out just a little bit less than $10,000. Well, is that a good decision, or should he keep that in savings because something might come up? This is probably a very good decision. He is being responsible because he's taking out less money in a loan. We don't want to take out loans if we don't have to. So Mr. Stevens is decreasing the amount of the loan by paying a down payment. And the benefit of that is that he's going to pay less interest. And this will allow him to build up his savings account again. But he's not spending as much because he's using his savings for the down payment. Let's look at some more examples of deciding whether people were responsible or irresponsible. So Jaslyn is going to a store that sells a bottle of iced tea for $1.99 and a pack of 6 bottles for $9.65. Jaslyn buys 5 bottles of iced tea. Is Jaslyn being financially responsible or financially irresponsible? Well, if she buys 5 at $1.99 each, that means 5 times $1.99, which is $9.95. And I know it's not a big difference, but she spent more money and she only got 5. If she'd spent less money, she could have gotten 6. So Jaslyn here is irresponsible. Number 6. It's going to cost Michaela $15,000 to remodel her kitchen. Michaela has enough money to make a down payment of $5,000 and then get a loan for the remaining amount at an interest rate of 4.75% and a loan term of 4 years. Michaela decided to get a loan for $15,000 on the same terms. Is Michaela being financially responsible or financially irresponsible? And what is the monetary value of her benefit or cost and interest paid? So instead of making a down payment, she's going to get a loan for the entire amount. And that was one we discussed on our notes. That's irresponsible because that means she's going to be paying more interest. If she had used some of her savings, then she wouldn't have to pay as much interest. And you can use your calculator to figure that out, but she's going to definitely have to pay more. So that's irresponsible. You have several examples you're going to be looking at and deciding whether they are financially responsible or financially irresponsible.